welcome to Lilybug's Library. My name's Linda. I gotta make sure my sound is turned up. There we go. And I'm coming to you today because I'm thinking about spring. I know it's only March, barely March, and I know that where I live, we still have at least another month where it's going to rain and snow and rain and snow and all of those fun things. But still, it's spring is on my mind. So, with that in mind, I went searching for books that had the word garden in them. And boy, did I find a lot of them. And if they didn't have the word garden, there was a lot that had things that related to a garden like botanist or seeds or plants but I stuck with the garden ones. So I've got a list that I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, there's a couple on the list that I don't know if I would read personally, but I'm sure they're good books, and I'm sure, you don't necessarily have all of my tastes, so there might be some there that you would be interested in. Some are just a little dark for me, but let's see what we've got. So the first one sounds really good. It's called The Moonlight Gardening Club, and it's about a widow named Ruby and a single mom named Frankie. And so they get together and form this moonlight gardening club. And all the plants that are in the garden are all plants that look really nice in moonlight. It's I don't know the names of the plants, but ones that that's when they bloom is at night, and or they have like an iridescent quality that shimmers at night, that sort of thing. Sounds kind of neat. Um, so they end up forming this friendship and really start to enjoy each other's company and this gardening club. And then apparently there's some shocking secrets that are revealed, and both of their worlds are turned upside down. And it says each one must face what they're running from for their friendship to survive. Sounds good. So we'll see what that one's like. There's another one. Now, this one sounds like, although it sounds good, it sounds like it would probably be a little too dark for me. This one's called The Garden Girls, and it actually comes out April 23rd, so it's not even out yet. But it's about an FBI agent named Tiberius, and every time I hear that name, I think of Captain Kirk on Star Trek, but that's the only person I know named Tiberius. Um, but anyway, the FBI agent finds these victims who are tattooed with flowers that go along with their names. So if their name was Rose, they're tattooed with roses. If their name is Ivy, they have ivy on them, that sort of thing. And somehow it's also connected to some woman that he had been in love with and a cult that they escaped together. So it sounds, like I said, really interesting. I don't know if I'd find it a little dark, but I'm tempted to try because it does sound like it would be good. It's a good premise for it. So that one, like I said, comes out April 23rd. So the next one is called The Garden of Small Beginnings, and I really love the cover. It's cute and whimsical. But it's about a single mom named Lillian, and she's a widow. She's lost her husband, I don't think too long ago. Um, Single mother for 3 years. So yeah, lost her husband 3 years ago. So she's bored and doesn't really know what to do with herself. She's just um, she just doesn't have enough in her life, and she's got her kids, and she just needs something else. So she signed up by her boss for a vegetable gardening club. So she goes there, and she figures, oh well, give it a try. The boss signed me up. You feel obligated. So when she gets there, she actually finds out that she kind of enjoys it. And so she also recruits her kids and her sister, and they're all trying to help her. And so she really makes friends with the people in this gardening club and starts to kind of come back into her own and feel like her life is worth living again. So I think that one might be cute. Oh, excuse the coffee, I just got up. Not that that matters, I usually have a coffee. And then the next one is called Scent of a Garden, and it's about this woman whose parents owned hotels when she was growing up. So they're hoteliers, I think that's how you say it. But she takes a different route. She becomes a Paris perfumer. So then she everything's going well and she's doing well in this job, but then her sense of smell disappears. Maybe she had COVID, I don't know. But somehow her sense of smell disappears. So, like most people, when things go wrong, she heads home. So she returns home to her grandmother's garden because she thinks that's, a place of calm and rest and the beautiful flowers and all of this. But when she gets there, it's gone. She hasn't been home in quite some time. Things have changed. And so now she's kind of left trying to heal her life and figure out, what she can do to move forward from all of this. And the next one is an old one. It's actually called Susanna's Garden. So it's from 2010. So that's pretty old. And it's number 3 in the Blossom Street series. So can you read Susanna's Garden before you read the other ones? I don't know. But it had such a sweet cover. I thought, oh, I really want to include it. And then, if you want to go back and read the first 2 before you get to this one, that's fine. But it's by Debbie McComber, and she's, as I'm sure most of you know, she's done a lot of books. But this one is about Susanna, and she says goodbye at 18 to a boyfriend that she broke up with, and then her brother dies that same year, so she had a lot to cope with. So it then goes ahead to when she's 50, and she's regretting kind of her life and the paths that she didn't take, and all of those things that come with age. You think about different things you could have done. And so she goes home to help her mom because her father had passed not too long ago. So her mom is a recent widow, and she goes home to help her. And while she's there, she starts to kind of re-examine those choices and realize that sometimes those doors close for a reason, and things are not always the past is not always as shiny as what you make it out to be. So that one should be good too. The next one is a dual timeline one, which sometimes I like if they're done well, sometimes not as much, but we'll see. This one's called The Garden of Heaven, and I'm sorry if I mess up some of the names in it, but I'll do my best. So it's about Madhav. He's 10 and torn apart by war and becomes a stone carver. And he ends up making this Garden of Heaven. And then there's another stone carver that looks to be, I think they're dual timelines. Now, it could be that they're dual lives, but in the same timeline, if that makes any sense. Anyway, the other stone carver is named Nadu, and he is dealing with his headstrong daughters and all that goes along with that. And somehow in this, there's a lot of characters. So somehow in all of this, the 2 stone covers end up having coming together and having similar lives and finding out about each other. So they make a stone frieze, Frieze. I'm not sure if that's like a stone column. I'm not sure exactly what a frieze is. I meant to look it up and I forgot, to be honest. Um, so anyway, it all takes place in Delhi, and so it talks about how it's a long and eventful history between the 2 families. So it could be interesting. So the next one is called The Victory Garden, and it's by Rhys Bowen. And so it's about this, it's during World War II, and this woman named Emily really wants to contribute more. She wants to do something for the war effort. So she talks to this Australian pilot, and he convinces her that, yes, there's more you can do, and really kind of boosts her self confidence. So in the meantime, he also proposes marriage to her, and she accepts. But they're not married yet. He proposes, and then he goes back to war. So she becomes a land girl, and they tend to the gardens, and they, do all of those things. And while she's doing that, she discovers this long lost journal, and so she, is kind of involved in that, and what that has to do with making her life better. And then eventually he ends up dying in the war, and she discovers she's pregnant. So she passes herself off as his widow because, they didn't get married, but nobody knows that one way or the other. So she does pretend to be his widow. And so it's all about, her trying to, heal with the powers of herbs and things from this garden and trying to move on with her life and mourning the loss of this Australian pilot. I think he was a pilot. Anyway, I'm actually reading the latest from Reese Bowman right now. That's going to be coming out later this year. So um, I've realized I thought it was the first one that I'd ever read of hers, and then when I start looking at the things that she's written, it's like, oh no, I have read her before. So anyway, she's a very good author, so I think that one would be really good. So the next one is another one that I really love the cover of. It's called The Twilight Garden. And it talks about this small pocket of community in London between the houses 77 and 79. And there's a neglected community garden. So it says it was a beautiful thing once, a little oasis in a bustling city for neighbors by day and local foxes at twilight, but now it's overgrown and neglected. So they have closed the garden gate, and Winston at number 79 likes it. Anything to avoid Bernice, who's moved in next door with her young son. Their houses may share the garden, but they're not exactly neighborly. So I think that's gonna be interesting. And the next one's another one that I looked at and thought, might be too dark for me, but some people would probably enjoy it. It's called The Poison Garden. So it's about a woman who, every time anything happens, she chooses a different name, moves to a different neighborhood. So she's been all kinds of people. And when she's there, she makes friends with people. She's very outgoing. She, really kind of embraces the neighborhood, and she plants this lovely garden. Well, in amongst the garden is things like hemlock. And so the description of it's is kind of cute. It says she tells everyone that her aunt, that she learned to all these recipes that she makes and gives her neighbors and things. Oh, she learned them from her aunt. Well, there's no aunt. But it says, in the community garden, your neighbor will hide the poison hemlock among Queen Anne's lace. If she gives you orange marmalade for your abusive husband, ensure he only eats it. And later, if the police ask you if you want an autopsy, say no. And then it talks about how she also has relationships with these men, but only if they're the same as she is, a murderer. So it's like, ooh, okay. Be careful what you take from your neighbors, I guess. All right. So the next one is called The Lavender Garden. I'm a big fan of anything lavender, so I like the name of that. And it takes place in two different timelines as well. The first one is 1998 in the south of France, and Emily inherits her childhood home. And it also comes with a mountain of debt and lots of questions, apparently. And then in 1944, Constance is sent undercover to Paris to discover a family who entertains Nazis while working to liberate France. And Emily starts to discover the connection between the war in 1944 and then her life in 1998, and starts to put clues together to some of these mysteries of this house that she inherited. So that one sounds like it could be interesting. Sounds kind of Kristen Hanna-ish. So the next one, and the last one, yeah, the last one is called The Walled Garden. And again, it was such pretty covers. Like when I don't know, they're all just they're all garden-like, but they're all very unique and pretty, and I really like them. So this one is about a grad student named Lucy who arrives in England hoping to solve a long-standing literary mystery with her dissertation and finish her graduate studies. So she starts to piece together some correspondence between her late grandmother and someone named Elizabeth Blackspear, who apparently is a poet and garden writer. And instead, what she's uncovering is some kind of a puzzled coded message and references in the letter. And so she finds herself fighting the Blackspear garden director, um, who is trying to deny her access to some of these documents that she needs for her dissertation. And so she ends up discovering a plot to turn the gardens into a theme park. And so she's trying to stop that as well and figure out what these coded messages are and what her grandmother had to do with all of this. So that could be really interesting too. I have a feeling maybe her grandmother was some kind of World War II code breaker or something. I'm not really sure, but be interesting to see what did happen. It's like you know, there's so many interesting stories out there. It's like, and so little time. It's one of those things where I wish I, could read top speed just so I could read more. But anyway, they all sound really good. And if you're into gardening and you're starting to dream about spring the way I am, maybe that's something you could look into to kind of keep that little spark of spring in your heart until it actually gets here. All right. Hope you have a great day, friends. Bye bye.